And my all-time favorite anime is a Japanese cartoon, I guess, series is Full Metal Alchemist. And right from the get-go, I just really identified with Full Metal Alchemist. And it's funny looking at it from an, I guess, indigenous perspective. Full Metal Alchemist, the underlying philosophy of the series is the notion of equivalent exchange, which is you take what you give, reciprocity. And when you think of it with like an indigenous lens or even Samoan lens, the act of reciprocity is alo, right? You give and you take. And when you look at alo, which is row, to row, like in the manner of rowing, and you go alo, rowing back and forth. Like it explains the concept, rowing back and forth. You give, you take. You give, you take. So Full Metal Alchemist, right from the get-go, I was like, fuck, I totally understand it. That's how I live my life. Equivalent exchange. I take what I give. I try and put good out into the world. I try and make a change because I'm not all about the taking life. Like if I succeed, I want to share in that success with others. And so that's why I love Full Metal Alchemist, as well as being like a dope story. Like just the underlying philosophy of it, equivalent exchange. You take what you give. Like that's how you should be living a very karma like life. But like that's how I operate, is of alo, of reciprocity, of equivalent exchange. And like it took me a long time to like, because everyone loved Naruto, and like I was familiar with Naruto, and I didn't mind it, but I couldn't spend the time to watch all of it. But recently I watched like from Pain versus Jiraiya, because I was like, I just want to watch the cool stuff. So I started watching it, and I watched it to the end. And luckily, with all the episodes out, I skipped all the fillers and just watched all the cool shit. And then I understood why people love it and why I thought it was so fucking amazing. So when you look at Naruto and you look at Sasuke, you have a dichotomy of beliefs. You had one person who lived with a family, which was taken away from him tragically, which in Sasuke, he had a family. That family is taken away from him. And so he grows up almost like having it all, but losing it. And so his goals were very singular. Like he was about obtaining power through his own means for himself. You have Naruto, who grew up with no family because his parents passed away. So he grew up an outsider with nothing, right? But even though he grew up with nothing, he felt connected to the village of the Hidden Leaf, the people of Hidden Leaf. And he would always try his best to be accepted, to be part of those people. And like, obviously he'd do it over the top and people would think he's annoying and shit. But he, even in the subconscious level, he understood the value in community. And when you watch their journeys throughout the whole series, Sasuke is trying to do things on his own. He's got a team, but he's very much about like, I'm trying to build power on my own esteem. And Naruto, as powerful as Naruto is, he still relies on the village, on the community. So his power is with people. And when you look at Indra and Ashra, the original twins, that they kind of explain where the kind of chakra comes from, right? Indra and Ashra, Indra didn't have any powers. Ashra was like kind of like, yeah, I've got all the powers. I can do all of this cool shit. And so they were set out on the journey to help people and use their powers. Ashra comes back early and he like uses powers and he solved the problem for them. Indra comes later, but Indra worked with the people to solve the problem they had. And in doing so, he unlocked his powers. And so I was like, fuck, this is awesome. And so Naruto and Sasuke were trying to be the most powerful people they can be, but one was trying to do it on his own. The other, as powerful as he was on his own, did it with people. And it was Naruto and the people around him, the people that he lifted up, the people who lifted him up, that succeeded and then turned Sasuke around, when Sasuke realized that's what he needed to do to be powerful. The power wasn't in how much chakra and the jutsu you can have. The power was in the people. And once I realized that, I was like, fuck, this is amazing. I can see why people love it. And I don't even know if people even thought of it that way. But like that's how I watched it, like just watching it. Oh fuck yeah, okay, I could get behind this because I'm about the community. I'm about the power you get with people. You know, and that should be how we operate. That's how our village mentality should be about. We're all in this together. You know, and that's when we're the strongest.
But New Zealand, we got a villain here. It's called Tall Poppy Syndrome.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, so just kind of, again, you know, looking at it with more experienced eyes and like understanding like the kind of underlying philosophy of it, I was like, fuck yeah, this is so much cooler than I gave it credit for.
Yeah.
And so like hats off to all you Naruto fans who like were watching it as it came out. Like I can understand now why people absolutely love it. Just because
I love that.
Yeah, and like, you know, Dragon Ball, like obviously I loved Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball when I was a kid, like younger. And because I was like, oh, this is exciting. Now that I watch, I fucking hate it. like there are moments like Piccolo's the coolest. Like Piccolo's like the kind of uncle I wish I could be. Like the fucking cool uncle that, you know, he tries to be tough, but like he's a big softie and he fucking cares about people and he's there for people.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you know, no matter how much he complains, he's there for people. Yeah, but like overall, like Dragon Ball is just about strength, being stronger than other people, and I'm not interested in that. Like,
right? Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I gotta be stronger than you, and then like I'm the strongest, and then someone stronger comes along, and now I'm gonna be stronger, you know. And it's like, oh, it
sounds like a Zack Snyder.
Yeah, it's very like, you know, there are some cool stuff that happens, but overall, it's like I just don't care for that. Like, I don't care about being stronger than other people. I care about working with others. Like that's, you know, and
that's why you like the Alchemist.
Yeah, I feel like Full Metal Alchemist, you know, just the whole like, cause like, you know, Edward Alric, you know, and his brother Alphonse, and they tried to bring their mother back from the dead, and then they fuck up and like, you know, and Edward always has it hanging over him. You know, he's missing an arm, he's missing a leg. His brother's soul is on the other side, so he had to infuse his brother's body's on the other side, like purgatory. So he managed to save his brother's soul into a suit of armor. So like walking around with that always a reminder of your fuck up. You know, like that's a cool thing, especially for like a young dude like Edward Alric isn't old. So like, you know, like they fucked up when they were kids and all this kind of stuff, and you have the seven sins and stuff and the homunculi as well, like, you know, the subject of like, you know, what is it to be human? You know, is it the soul? Does the soul make you human? Or does the soul, you know, kind of thing, and all kinds of things, you know, very philosophy heavy. And that's why Full Metal Alchemist is my all-time favorite. But it's, again, that lens, you know, of a storyteller, just breaking things down about, you know, and that's what you do when you tell stories, is you're figuring out what is the underlying philosophy of the story that you're telling, and
the way it relates.
Yeah, and the way it relates to people, regardless of like how fantastical you can make everything. Like, you know, you could come up with like this fucking crazy idea. It all comes down to the universal truth of the experience of those characters. You know, you can dress it up as pretty as you want, but as long as people can relate, then there's no limit to what kind of story you take. You can tell it's about the relationship, you know, and the resonance of the story, of the universal theme that with the audience, and that's what makes stories. It's not the cool shit and stuff. It's the heart of the story.
It's kind of like what you remind me of. Why I watch and I'm a big fan of now, Yellowstone.
Right.
Because before I watched Yellowstone, like I knew it was on, but I never watched it. And so, you know, my friends were saying, "You should watch Yellowstone, man. It's good." And I'm like, oh, okay. And then my family was like, "You should watch Yellowstone," and other people, you should watch Yellowstone. But
I haven't watched it yet. Like people have talked about it, but
these are islanders that are saying it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, these islanders love Yellowstone. Wait, and like, okay, I'll try to watch it. So I watched it, and it's good, man. I was a fan straight away,
Yeah.
and I just kept watching. But always in my head, why do Islanders like this? And I know why now. Because there's a story about these cowboys living in America on
Yeah.
the ranch, doing their thing. They're living off the land. You know, I think that resonates with Samoans and Islanders because
It's kind of it's an island life, right?
island
Like,
life. Island life. These white guys, cowboys, living the island lifestyle on the ranch in America, in the middle of nowhere, doing their thing like with the cattle, with the sheep. Well, not sheep, the cattle and all that, and just the hard life they live. Like if there's argument, they have to fight.
Yeah.
And have to beat each other up, kind of thing. It's like it's that masculinity, but we can understand being Islanders.
Yeah.
It's like kind of like living on the islands, that sort of mentality. It's like a hard life kind of thing, and that's why I think it resonates to Islanders. That's why we like.
Oh, okay, I've heard people talk about this stuff, but I haven't gone around to watching it.
But I think that's the same thing when you're talking about like how stories can have to relate. You can have all sorts of things. But the essence of it, we can recognize it.
That's what connects the audience.
Yeah, and then sometimes we don't even know why we like it.
Yeah.
Like, why do I like this movie? Because it's cool, but we're not realizing, it's the story.
There was something in that story that really connected with you.
And I think you've got that gift to know what that is. So that's what